Friends, it's an honour to introduce this tribute to our comrades today. This remembrance is not sort of misguided nostalgia or pseudo-nationalism. It is a bitter reminder of the terrible price that our politics has cost our comrades, our friends, ourselves and our families. Let me start by dismissing the murderous attacks upon Republicans by the Provisionals as feuds. They were not feuds. They were not part of any vendetta, gang wars or bad blood. These pogroms were the reaction of the Provisionals to their lack of political legitimacy in calling themselves Republicans, and the people they blamed for being denied that legitimacy was the Workers' Party. These were political pogroms carried out by the Provisionals upon the Republican movement, upon its members and supporters and what they represented. The fact that Republicans defended themselves, their politics and their party does not change the fact that these were politically motivated pogroms. Unlike the Republican movement, the Provisionals were born from the ashes of sectarianism. Their recruits stemmed out of Celtic supporters clubs to cry revenge for 69. They gained their support then and now from representing themselves in Ireland as defenders of Catholicism and nationalism through arch bigots like Jimmy Steele, Jimmy Drum and Joe Cahill. In America, they represented themselves as the bulwark against communism in Ireland through Father Sean McManus and NORAD. Both of these concepts are the very opposite of republicanism, which has always been separatist, secular, socialist, anti-sectarian and internationalist. From Tone to Connolly to Macmillan and McGilla, these ideas were always opposed by the Provisionals and the ultra-left. Their fascist sectarianism reverberates through history. In 1970, they ambushed and killed 5 Protestant civilians in North and East Belfast, led by a Catholic bigot called Billy McKee. In 1971, they killed a mother and her child on the Shankill Road. In 1972, in the Abercorn restaurant, they killed 2 young Catholic women. In the Le Bon restaurant, they killed 12 Protestant civilians, doing nothing more than attending a dog show. On Bloody Friday, they killed 9 civilians. In Armagh that July, they machine-gunned an Orange Hall, killing 5 Protestants. Provos, operating under the proxy name South Armagh Republican Action Force, shot dead 10 Protestant building workers in a massacre, but singled out the 1 Catholic worker who was with them to go free. The Provos killed 8 Protestants who were working on an army base in Taban, and between 74 and 76, they deliberately killed 91 Protestant civilians. This is what is meant by defending Catholicism and nationalism. The political description for this type of activity is ethnic cleansing. It was an attempt to get rid of an unwanted Protestant population in order to establish a homogeneous Catholic ascendancy, especially in the border areas. They were no better than their counterparts in the Glenanne gang, made up of loyalists, RUC men and British soldiers who murdered over 120 Catholic civilians. The only people who actively resisted the Provisionals, who opposed this sectarian warfare, was the Workers' Party. The Provisionals could never have the political legitimacy to call themselves Republicans as long as the Workers' Party existed and opposed them publicly. It was this sectarian murder campaign that convinced Billy McMillan, Sean Garland and Cathal Golding that a civil war was a distinct possibility. For this reason, they opposed the Provos and militarism generally and declared a ceasefire in 1974 to pursue the civil rights agenda. It was only the Workers' Party that denied the Provisionals the public political legitimacy of calling themselves Republican and giving legitimacy to their murder campaign by calling it a freedom struggle. They desperately sought political legitimacy. It was for this reason that the Provisionals, in collusion with ultra-left thugs, consciously and deliberately planned the destruction of the Workers' Party through murderous pogroms and attacks on Republican prisoners. They attacked no other political party in this way, and they failed miserably. We are now into the era of the politics of apology. Jean McConville and the other disappeared were mistakes. Civilian bombings were a mistake. In an article in Infoblock recently, Jerry Adams wrote, "I have long believed that the split in the Republican movement represented a setback for the Republican struggle. The feuding was a mistake. It was reprehensible and wrong. Therefore, the Provisionals' raison d'etre for existing was a mistake, according to their president." To fabricate their Republican legitimacy, the Provisionals distorted Irish culture and tradition. The right to national self-determination was used to make its version of republicanism legitimate, a right they said that could only be achieved by exclusively armed struggle, in total contrast to what the Civil Rights Campaign had already achieved. To this end, the Provisionals needed the impact of their armed struggle to be seen, especially in the Catholic community, as politically legitimate. Hence, their prisoner of war status for their prisoners became critical. They were fully prepared to allow their prisoners to die on hunger strike to achieve the prisoner of war status. They represented their prisoners in very traditional symbols, wall murals with halos, blankets draped around their heads and body, almost Christ-like. Their sacrifice compared to that of Christ, dying for the sake of others and equating Irishness with Catholicism. The legacies and memories of both the 1916 Rising and the 1980 hunger strikes continue to be invoked on a regular basis by the Provisionals. Richard O'Raw, who was the public relations officer of the Provo prisoners at the time of the hunger strikes, claimed, "The prisoners existed in an idealistic time warp, wallowing in self-pity and representing themselves as Irish heroes struggling for freedom. There was an almost biblical reference to the 1916 proclamation, sometimes elevating the sacrifice of the signatories to a holy act." However, the politics of this sacred drama are no longer the sole ownership of the Provisionals. The legacy of the hunger strikes is a potent political weapon in the battle over the process of fabricating their historical legitimacy. This contemporary conflict within provisionalism has many dissidents, including ex-provisionals, using the hunger strikers' aims as evidence of the compromises and betrayals of the Adams-McGuinness leadership in the post-1998 era. The hunger strikes were the beginning of the end for the armed struggle. Once the Provisionals signed up to the Good Friday Agreement in 1998, controlling the historical narrative around the hunger strikes became hugely significant for them. The Provisionals had overturned their ideological doctrine in very critical ways, contesting elections, preparing to take their seats in Leinster House in Stormont, calling a ceasefire, supporting the police and judiciary in Northern Ireland. They almost sounded like the Workers' Party. For many Provos, this reversal of policies was truly contradictory, given the fact that the Provos came to life because of their opposition to such moves in 1969. To reassure their rank and file with regard to their ultimate destination, it is critical to retain ownership of the hunger strike narrative, to be its legitimate heirs. The hunger strikes, which had been understood for so long as a force for internal cohesion within the Provisionals, has now become the site of dramatic conflict over their present legitimacy. The hunger strikers' legacy has become a double-edged sword for the Provisionals. They are determined to maintain the shroud of historical legitimacy and assert their connection with Bobby Sands. Yet the very act of commemorating his sacrifice and that of the other hunger strikers draws public attention to the dismal failure of provisional strategy to make any significant headway towards Irish unity in the present era. No chucky or laugh from the lads now. All you see is a group of people with their snouts in the money troughs in the halls of Leinster House in Stormont. The working class can kiss their ass. They've got the foreman's job at last. The ultimate sacrifice of our comrades, which we proudly commemorate today, prevented the Provisionals from hijacking the mantle of republicanism. Perhaps their own dead comrades will demonstrate that the outcome of their armed struggle, with over 3,000 dead, 20,000 maimed and 40,000 ex-prisoners, has been for Sinn Féin to become nothing more than a constitutional political party, administering partition estates in Leinster House and Stormont on behalf of Britain. Thank you.
Comrades and friends, due to circumstances relating to COVID-19, we gather not in person but online to commemorate our comrades and friends who made the ultimate sacrifice and remember them proudly on the 45th anniversary of their murder. On behalf of the Workers' Party of Ireland and the National Commemoration Committee, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to remember and commemorate our comrades, friends and families in the dark year that was 1975, when we lost so many and so much. 1975 was the year when we could really begin to build our party as the revolutionary party of the working class. We had rid ourselves of the right-wing elements which became known as the provisionals. We now had rid ourselves of the ultra-leftists. We were a stable organisation focused on social, economic agitation and civil rights and the unity of the working class. However, 1975 was also the year when the very existence of the Workers' Party came under attack. It came under attack not from one force intent on our destruction, but two. The first attack came in the spring-summer of 75 and was formed by a treacherous motley crew who had refused to accept the direction, vision and ideology set out by the party's leadership, a vision supported by the membership. The second, which took place in October 75, was nothing more than a fascist pogrom by the provisionals and in collusion with the British state. The sole purpose of both was to destroy the Republican clubs and their secular socialist Republican politics. Both murderous gangs failed in their attempts to destroy our party, and we stand here today united as comrades, steadfast as the Workers' Party of Ireland, the only secular socialist Republican party on this island, still committed to the unity of Catholic, Protestant and the centre. Our party had laid out an ambitious and brave vision, a vision for a revolutionary party of the working class and for the working class. A vision and ideology that at its core threatened the very presence of the ultra-leftists, sectarian nationalists and loyalists in both the British and Irish states. There is no doubt that 1975 was one of the most difficult times we have faced as a party. Our members, not for the first or last time, endured attacks, intimidation and murder. Indeed, our members, supporters and their families paid a heavy price for their belief and their commitment to the working class unity and anti-sectarian principles. Both of the attacks on our party and members in 1975 were a result of these gangs' refusal to accept that we were going a different road. To them, and for their sectarian campaign to succeed, they needed to remove and destroy our organisation. Indeed, it is no coincidence that throughout the years, our members, our party, have been singled out for attack by a wide variety of organisations. In fact, we're the only organisation who the Provisionals, the INLA, the Loyalists, paramilitaries and the British Army have attacked because each of them saw us as the party who posed the biggest threat to their existence and credibility. Our struggle to unite the working class and bring about a 32-county secular socialist republic threatened their sectarian agenda, and they set about to destroy our party and murder our members. Throughout the years, our commitment to our party's vision and ideology has survived. It has never wavered. Our message has always remained the same. Our message, our vision, has survived because we believe it is right. It has survived because we refuse to dishonour or forget the memory of those members we lost in the journey to building a 32-county socialist republic. Our party will continue to survive because we refuse to forget the sacrifice by so many of our comrades to ensure that we continue. And we must continue. No amount of betrayals or attacks will change our direction or put paid to our programme to create unity among our class, the working class. The best and most important tribute we can give to all our comrades who died is the continuation of the Workers' Party. We must set ourselves the task of building the political programme set out by Macmillan, Golding, McGilla, Garland, McGordon and O'Hagan. The building of a revolutionary party in tradition of Tone and Conley. In many ways the world has changed since 1975, but the fundamental exploitation of the working class has not. Our society remains divided. The capitalist class remain in power, both north and south. And as we see now in the middle of a global pandemic, how the capitalist system has failed us. Now more than ever, Ireland needs a workers' party. To mobilise the working class, to be their voice, to fight for a fair society. In doing this, we honour our comrades' memories in the best possible way. Let us leave this online commemoration today with a renewed promise and commitment to work together, to support each other in our aims and to rebuild our party. And truly honour the sacrifice of all our comrades who we have lost over the years. I leave you today with a quote from Conley that I feel sums up the spirit of the Workers' Party and captures the very essence in our continued commitment to fulfil our aims to create a 32-county secular socialist republic. If you strike at, imprison or kill us, out of our prisons and graves we will still evoke a spirit that will thwart you and perhaps raise a force that will destroy you. We defy you. Do your worst.
Mourn not the dead by Ralph Chaplin. Mourn not the dead that in the cool earth lie, dust unto dust. The calm, sweet earth that mothers all who die, as all men must. Mourn not your captive comrades who must dwell, too strong to strive, within each steel-bound coffin of a cell, buried alive. But rather mourn the apathetic throng, the cowed and the meek, who see the world's great anguish and its wrong, and dare not speak.
Thank you, friends and comrades, for logging on and watching this commemoration that we have online. It's just a pity that we couldn't be in the graveyard where our comrades are buried, because I would say the families of our comrades would have much preferred to have stood at their graves, but unfortunately, given the situation, that's impossible. There are not just people who lost their lives by the violence of the Provos and the INLA and the British Army. There's those who worked themselves into an early grave. There's those who give their lives from they were Fianna boys until the present day when they're pensioners. We must remember all of those, and we must keep alive the memory of everyone who has served this party over the years and who have passed on, or indeed may be ill. We must keep alive their memory. Thank you, comrades.
Come all you young I sing. For love of one's land is a terrible thing. It banishes fear with the speed of a flame, and it makes us all part of the patriot game. My name is O'Hanlon, and I'm just gone 16. My home is in Mona, and there I was weaned. I was thought all my life cruel England to blame, and so I'm a part of the patriot game. 'Tis barely 2 years since I wandered away with a local battalion of the bold IRA. I read of our heroes and wanted the same, to play up my part in the patriot game. They told me how Connolly was shot in a chair, his wounds from the battle all bleeding and bare, his fine body twisted, all battered and lame. They soon made me part of the patriot game. This Ireland of mine has for long been half free. 6 counties are under John Bull's monarchy, and still De Valera is greatly to blame for shirking his part in the patriot game. I don't mind a bit if I shoot down police. They're lackeys for war, never guardians of peace. But yet at deserters I'm never let aim, those rebels who sold out the patriot game. And now as I lie with my body all holes, I think of those traitors who bargained and sold. I'm sorry my rifle has not done the same for the quislings who sold out the patriot game.